Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me for card 3 in our Use What We Have series. So here's a card that I have created today, and it's mainly based around this stencil. This stencil is what started it for me, but I kind of feel like the stencil doesn't create a finished Christmas decoration. So I'm going to do a little something something, and I have just got a clear piece of acetate here which I'm going to place on top of the stencil, and then I just have a Sharpie just to draw on it. You could use any kind of pen that will draw on the acetate, and I'm just going to trace around that shape of the Christmas decoration. So right around the outside, just making sure that I get as close to the exact shape as I can. So there you go, you can see it looks a bit silly at the moment actually. And then I'm also going to trace around the shape for the big circle, the more circular ones. And I don't end up using this one on the card, but I will keep this piece of acetate. I've actually taped it to the stencil so that I can use it next time. And I'm just using some scissors to stab the inside and then cut around the outside of that black line, just so that I can create a backing color to this stencil. So it kind of becomes a little two-step Christmas decoration. Super simple. So then I have a piece of 80-pound Nina Solar White, and this is going to be my card front, and I'm just cutting a little bit off I think it was maybe a quarter of an inch or so off two of the sides, and then I'm going to use this green color as a matting layer. This is just some green cardstock, and you can see there it's going to layer up nicely. This is a stamp set that I got last year that says have yourself a merry little Christmas, and I am going to stamp this using this VersaFine Satin Red. This is a pigment ink, and so I'm going to be able to emboss this just so that it has that little extra bit of shine to it. So I'm just using an anti-static powder tool here just so that hopefully none of the embossing powder clings where I don't want it to be. And I get a pretty good impression with that one, so I'm just going to take it out and then add some clear embossing powder over top. It might be cool. I did have a holographic one that I thought I might use, but I didn't want to take away from the red, the nice kind of bright red. So I'm just going to heat set the embossing powder, and you can see it turn. It looks so cool when it does that. And this is a set from Sunny Studios. Now this is obviously a branded set, and I feel like this is maybe even a couple of years old, this set. But this series is about using what I have. It doesn't matter if branded or unbranded or wherever it came from. It's just about using exactly what you have in your stash and trying not to buy in new stuff for every little thing that goes on. So I'm using a couple of Distress Oxide inks, and I'm using it in my stamping platform so that I can kind of mix up the colors and make it a little bit more interesting rather than just having one flat green color. So I think I can't even remember, the Mode Lawn, and I can't remember what the other colors are, but it doesn't matter what color greens you use, just a mixture of darker and lighter ones. And I'm just changing the stamp around so that I kind of get some nice coverage and it doesn't all look exactly the same up the top. You can see I have little hands helping me at all times during this process. Okay, so now I am going to move on to the next bit of creating the Christmas decorations. So here I have some, I think this is the fossilized amber. It's just a lighter yellow color, and this is going to be the base colors. So this is spun sugar, which is just a light pink color. And then the next color is going to be a light purple color, which I think is shaded lilac. These are Distress Oxides, but you could definitely use any ink that you have. As I said, just use what you have available. And now this is when I'm going to start layering up the pattern on top. So I'm going to use all three of those different patterns in the stencil, and I'm just using some low-tack tape to mask off what I don't want to get. And I realize here that actually I am not careful enough to stay in the stencil, so I am going to realize that pretty fast and add a little more tape and things so that I miss all of those other spots. My card is well on the way to being finished, so I don't really want to ruin it at this point. So there you go, you can see it kind of creates that background color and then the pattern on top just by creating our own super simple stencil to put down the first color. So now I'm going to do this middle one here and adding the tape, and then I'm going to use some, I think it might be worn lipstick, and then I added the darker purple color was the wilted violet. And so on top of the yellow, I am going to use the orange one, which is maybe spiced marmalade, I think. Okay, and then from here, I am going to add the little metal part up the top that connects it to its string. And so they have these on the stencil. So I'm going to use this Versamarker pen, which is just like a sticky ink, and I'm just going to kind of trace in the top little bit on each of the Christmas decorations so that they can kind of be joint onto the tree at the top of the page. So you could probably just freehand draw these as well. You don't really need the stencil. And then use some silver embossing powder to emboss those. You could use gold, you could use whatever you have again for these, and quickly heat set that little top bit. Now just to finish these off, what could look kind of cool would be using perhaps some glossy accents over these to kind of make them appear glassy and a little slightly more 3D. But I have gone super simple here and just gone for a little bit of Wink of Stella. I am just going quickly because, as always, time is limited for me when I'm crafting, and you can see a nice kind of shine there. The Wink of Stella pen is from AliExpress, and so is the stamp set, and so is the stencil. So I will try and link that down below if they are still available. I apologize if they're not available, but as I said, I'm not buying new items. I am just trying to use exactly what I have. So here I'm just trying out the yellow background. I know I made a green background earlier, but I kind of decide that I like the red better, and I think it picks up on the red of the sentiment and goes a little bit better than the original green that I had planned it to be. So it's okay to change your mind. Adding a little bit of liquid glue onto my 110-pound Nina Solar White card base, and then I'm just going to put again the panel, the card front nice and flat using some liquid glue on top of that. So super simple card. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to see you in the next one of my series. Thank you so much for your support, guys. See you next time. Bye.